Heartbreaking breaking news. Triple H rushes to California hospital after Ric Flair collapses. WWE legend's body gives out. Viewers, brace yourselves, because what I'm about to tell you is not just another wrestling headline. Ric Flair collapsed. At a private wrestling convention in California, the man who proudly strutted across rings with 16 world championships, the Nature Boy himself, fell to the floor. There was no warning. There was no kayfabe. There was just silence, followed by screams. And within moments, Triple H was seen storming into the shirt half-buttoned, eyes red, phone in hand. That image alone is already sending shockwaves through the wrestling community. Fans are in tears. Wrestlers are shaken. And WWE as we know it might never be the same again. This was more than a collapse. This was a sign, a terrifying one, that Ric Flair's legendary body, which endured decades of brutality for our entertainment, might finally be giving out. So now, fans are asking, did WWE do enough to protect him over the years? Did all those countless chair shots, suplexes, and blading matches build up to this? And more importantly, how long has he been hiding the pain? Because according to a few inside sources, Ric has been secretly battling a cocktail of spinal compression, nerve damage, and internal bleeding for months. But he never stopped, never rested, never told the fans, because, in his words, the show must go on. But let's rewind a little. Let's talk about what really led to that fall. Last week, Flair appeared on a podcast in LA and said, and I quote, "I still got one more match in me." Those words sent fans into a frenzy. He looked healthy, strong, confident. But little did we know, after that very recording, Flair collapsed backstage. EMTs were called. He refused to be taken to a hospital. He got up, dusted off, and said, "I'm fine. Save the ambulance for someone else." That's who Ric Flair was. Is. A warrior. But this time, the body said, enough. Reports say Flair was interacting with fans at the Legends of Wrestling signing event in San Jose. The crowd was electric. Children were crying with joy. Adults were reliving their youth. Flair smiled for photos, laughed, even hit a faint woo for the crowd. But then, mid-conversation with a fan, Flair gripped his chest, stumbled backward, and fell hard against the concrete floor. Security rushed in. Paramedics were on the scene in under 90 seconds. A stretcher was brought out. He was unresponsive. And when word got to Triple H, who was at a media briefing for WWE's SummerSlam press week in Hollywood, he reportedly dropped everything. Security footage shows Triple H rushing into a black SUV, ignoring calls from his PR team, and driving himself to the hospital. This isn't just a colleague. This isn't just a friend. Ric Flair is a mentor. A father figure. A brother in arms. And for Triple H, this is personal. Now, here's the even more horrifying part. Ric Flair reportedly flatlined in the ambulance. Let that sink in. He flatlined. Medics administered CPR. Twice. And it took nearly 6 minutes to stabilize him. He arrived at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in critical condition. And yet, as of this moment, there is no official statement from WWE. Why? Because internally, there is panic. According to insiders close to talent relations, the company has issued a soft gag order on discussing Flair's condition publicly. Only select executives have been briefed. But fans are not dumb. Social media has exploded with hashtags like #PrayForFlair, #NatureBoyForever, and #WhereIsTripleH. And Triple H. He's reportedly been by Flair's side since the second he entered the hospital. We're talking about Triple H, the chief content officer of WWE, skipping media duties, promo events, and SummerSlam prep to be in the ICU. That says it all. Now, here comes the part that will absolutely enrage you. According to leaked reports from hospital staff, Flair's collapse may have been preventable. Doctors allegedly advised Flair to avoid air travel, high altitudes, and prolonged standing. But WWE allegedly encouraged his appearance at the San Jose convention, citing contractual legacy obligations. Let me say that again. Ric Flair may have collapsed because of legacy obligations. That is horrifying. This man bled for WWE. Literally. He gave his entire youth, his body, and possibly now his life for the business. And if it turns out that corporate pressure pushed him into one last appearance for the fans, heads need to roll. As of right now, Flair is in a medically induced coma. His daughter, Charlotte Flair, was seen arriving at the hospital in tears. Becky Lynch, Cody Rhodes, and even Roman Reigns have reportedly called or visited. This isn't just a health emergency, this is the potential loss of a pillar of professional wrestling. And as fans, we have a responsibility to speak out. Because if WWE did in fact pressure Ric Flair to ignore medical advice, we deserve to know. The fans deserve the truth. Flair deserves accountability. What makes this even more gut-wrenching is that Ric had been planning a final documentary. A no-holds-barred story of his life, career, and regrets. That project is now on indefinite hold. If Flair doesn't make it out of this, we may never get to hear his final message. So here's the call to action. Comment below what Ric Flair meant to you. Share your favorite memories. Your favorite woo moment. Was it his match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania? Was it his NWA days? Was it that unforgettable moment when he returned to WWE in 2001? Let your voices be heard. And share this video. Let WWE know that we see them. That we're watching. That we're not okay with legends being sacrificed for photo ops. If Triple H can abandon his corporate duties to be by Ric's side, we can damn sure make sure the world knows what's going on. And to Ric Flair, if you're out there, still fighting, the entire wrestling world is wooing for you. We love you, Nach. Stay tuned for updates. This is WrestlingNewsCC. And we never stay silent when a legend falls. Back in the sterile hallway of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, time seemed to stretch endlessly. Triple H sat with his elbows on his knees, his hands locked together in silent desperation. His phone was blowing up. Texts from Shawn Michaels, Stephanie, Randy Orton, even John Cena. Every legend that had ever shared a ring with Ric was now pacing their floors, calling, praying. And yet, none of them felt the guilt that Triple H carried. Because this wasn't just about Ric Flair collapsing after a signing. No, this was a boiling point. Years of abuse, surgeries, and backstage politics all wrapped up in the aging frame of a man who never knew when to quit. Let's get one thing straight for all the fans watching right now. This collapse was not random. This was a warning shot. A symptom of how WWE has chewed up and spit out the very legends who built the ring the new generation performs in today. Ric Flair gave his blood, sweat, and legacy to this industry. But what did he get in return? A Hall of Fame ring and a broken body. An ovation at Raw 30 and a heart barely pumping. Triple H knew this. And when he saw Ric being loaded into the ambulance, pale and gasping, something in him snapped. He wasn't just watching a friend fall. He was watching a reality WWE fans and officials have ignored for far too long. This wasn't Ric's first health scare either. Back in 2017, the world almost lost him to organ failure. Fans cried. Superstars posted their farewells. WWE released tribute videos. And yet, after all that, they still paraded him on screen, allowed him to fly cross-country for meet and greets, and watched silently as his aging body took the toll. And now Triple H was thinking not just as a WWE exec, but as a human. He paced the hospital floor, every step echoing the same question in his mind. What have we done to Ric Flair? Back inside the hospital room, Ric was unconscious, hooked to machines and surrounded by white walls and the smell of antiseptic. But in his mind, it was 1989 again. The lights of the arena. The roar of the crowd. The four horsemen at his side. The man who lived to entertain didn't even know he was dying for it. And now, as Triple H made the dreaded call to Charlotte Flair, his voice cracked. Because no matter how much power he had at Titan Towers, he couldn't control this outcome. Char, it's Dad. He's in rough shape. It's bad. Charlotte didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply whispered, "Where is he?" And then the line went dead. The WWE locker room was on edge. The tension had spilled beyond social media. Seth Rollins posted a single black heart emoji. Roman Reigns didn't say a word. Because deep down, they all knew. They are staring at their future. Legends don't get to retire. Not in this business. They just fade into wheelchairs and oxygen masks. And the fans, they cry for one night and move on to the next Royal Rumble pop. But this time, Triple H wasn't going to let that happen. He called an emergency board meeting. Yes, from the hospital lobby. He had enough. Ric's collapse triggered something deeper. A movement. One that would shake WWE's treatment of legends, perhaps forever. But before any of that, Ric Flair had to survive. And as the minutes dragged, one thing became clear. If Ric woke up, WWE would never be the same again. And that's when the chaos truly began. As Triple H arrived at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, he wasn't just greeted by medical staff. He was met with a tidal wave of press, panicking superstars, and the stony silence of the WWE higher-ups. Word had gotten out. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, collapsed. And not just from age or exhaustion. This was the culmination of decades of wear, tear, and being the sacrificial lamb for entertainment. Inside the hospital, Triple H paced the hallways like a lion trapped in a cage. His suit jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled up, fists clenched. He had been through wars, surgeries, scandals, takeovers. But this, seeing his mentor, the man who practically gave him the keys to the kingdom, unconscious and fighting for his life. It shook him. Doctors finally emerged with an update. He's stable, but it's going to be a battle. His heart, it's taken a lot. And at that moment, something inside Triple H snapped. Not with rage, but resolve. Back at WWE headquarters, news was already leaking. Social media was ablaze. Hashtag pray for Flair was trending globally. Fans were speculating. Some blamed the constant physical demands of being a legend, never retiring. Others whispered about recent travel schedules, unannounced appearances, even behind-the-scenes friction between Ric and newer management. But what no one expected. Triple H's response. Less than 24 hours after arriving at the hospital, Triple H took a private jet back to Stamford. And he wasn't alone. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Batista, even John Cena made calls. There was a brotherhood forming in real time. This wasn't about a title. This was about the soul of professional wrestling. Flair wasn't just a man. He was the man. And every single person in that locker room, whether they loved or hated him, owed something to him. Vince McMahon, notably silent, was rumored to be unreachable. But insiders said that this medical emergency may have finally broken the last straw between the old regime and the new blood. It was time to pay respect. Not with words, but with action. So here's the storm that's brewing. Triple H is reportedly setting up a one-time only event, Legends Never Die, to honor Ric Flair. But it's not just a tribute. It's a war cry, a potential power shift. With legends returning, and younger superstars finally seeing the consequences of endless pushing without preservation, the wrestling world may never be the same again. Fans around the world have one question. Is this the wake-up call WWE needed? Or is it the beginning of its greatest downfall? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget, this is far from over. Back in the hospital room, the lights flickered softly above as doctors continued monitoring Ric Flair's vitals, but the gravity of the moment began pulling larger ripples through the wrestling world. Social media exploded with speculation. Hashtags like hashtag pray for Flair and hashtag WWE legend downtrended globally. Fans across the world, from Tokyo to Toronto, posted their memories of the Nature Boy, pleading for good news. But behind the scenes, things weren't just about prayers and nostalgia. Triple H had now shifted from grief into warrior mode. The game wasn't just Ric's friend, he was the protector of WWE's legacy, and Flair was its soul. And now that soul was lying unconscious in a hospital bed. You want me to run this business, Vince? Hunter muttered to himself in the corridor, fists clenched, eyes bloodshot. Then I'm burning everything down until I find out who's responsible. And just like that, the executive suit came off, and the cerebral assassin was back. Enter the silent whispers. Who hurt Ric Flair? Despite Flair's body finally giving out, whispers grew that this wasn't just a natural collapse. Some claimed it was stress from a phone call the night before. Others hinted he had been threatened. One insider source, known only as Spartan 6, dropped this bombshell. Flair had been warned. He was going to reveal secrets from 20 years ago, stuff involving Brock Lesnar, Vince, and buried money. This wasn't a coincidence. Hunter knew it, and it led him to the one place he didn't want to go. Brock Lesnar's ranch in Saskatchewan. Confrontation. Triple H versus Brock Lesnar, but not in a ring. A private jet. A snowstorm. Silence. Hunter arrived in the icy woods of Canada with no cameras, no PR, no security. Just him and an anger that refused to cool. Lesnar answered the knock with a snarl. You coming to beg me to return? Brock grunted. Hunter stared him down. No, I'm here because Ric's in the ICU. And I think you had something to do with it. Brock's eyes narrowed. Careful, Paul, you're not in a ring now. They stood chest to chest, titans with years of unfinished business. Hunter stepped forward. I'm not afraid of you, Brock. But if I find out you had anything to do with this, if Flair's collapse was anything but fate, I will end everything you love. And then something unexpected happened. Brock smiled. A cold, knowing smile. You're looking in the wrong place, Hunter, he said. You should be asking Roman. The tribal secret. Roman Reigns and the last phone call. Back in Stamford, Wee's internal security unearthed a chilling detail. Ric Flair's final call before his collapse was to a private number in Pensacola, Florida. Roman Reigns. Why would Flair call Roman? And why had Roman deleted his call log just hours after? Hunter summoned Reigns to Stamford. But Roman didn't come. He sent Paul Heyman. And Heyman didn't mince words. Ric Flair was going to expose something buried under 30 years of WWE history. He called Roman to warn him, not threaten. And Roman chose silence. That's not a crime. But silence isn't innocence, Hunter barked back. And now the pieces were falling apart, or falling into place. The final flashback. What was Ric hiding? We dive back 20 years ago. Ric Flair, then semi-retired, sat in on a meeting involving Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar, and a mysterious investor who paid millions to cover up an international incident involving a WWE tour gone wrong in South America. The tapes were destroyed, or so they thought. Flair had kept one. He always said, "Woo, I never lose the receipts." And now, that tape was gone. Missing. Stolen. The timing. Alarming. The culprit. Unknown. But the fear it caused. Real. WWE in chaos. By Friday Night SmackDown, the mood backstage was nothing short of nuclear. Wrestlers weren't just worried about Flair, they were paranoid. Phones were being checked. Surveillance was upgraded. A locker room leak was suspected. Hunter called a mandatory closed-door meeting. Cameras off. Media banned. Anyone protecting a secret right now. Anyone covering up what happened to Rick, you have 48 hours. Or I burn this whole company down to get to the truth. Even veterans like Randy Orton and AJ Styles were speechless. And somewhere, far from the building, CM Punk posted a cryptic tweet. Legends don't collapse. They're pushed. Boom. What happens next? Triple H isn't just launching a personal investigation. He's restarting the WWE Legacy division, a shadow operation that Vince once used to clean up internal messes. Only this time, it's not for silencing, it's for exposing. Names are being hunted. Footage is being reviewed. And Triple H isn't playing politics anymore. Ric Flair may be fighting for his life, but Hunter is fighting for the truth. And somewhere, someone is shaking in fear. They thought Flair wouldn't talk. They thought he couldn't. But Flair did. And the world is about to hear everything.